Good evening, I'm Jason Lightoller from Woodside, and tonight's topic is how to make a ribbed buttonhole band. Here is a 1x1 rib, and as you can see there are several buttonholes that I've attached here. Obviously this is a pretend garment. This is done in UK 4-ply yarn. The main garment has been made at tension 7 and the buttonhole band has been done at tension 4 on both the knitter and the ribber. It's quite an easy technique to do, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, I'm profoundly sorry for my extremely childlike drawings, but it's the best I could do. I am not an artist by any stretch of the imagination. So first and foremost, you need to work out your gauge on your 1x1 rib. And after you've done that, you then need to work out how many buttons you want. So on this example, I've got 100 rows between the bottom of the garment and where the shaping starts. This is an imaginary angled cardigan front. So if, for instance, you wanted 5 buttonholes and there are 100 rows between where the angle starts and the bottom, you just divide it by 5. In that case, it gives you 20. So therefore, every 20 rows, you would actually make a buttonhole. So you would start at the bottom and then 20 rows up, you'd make another buttonhole, and then you'd make another buttonhole a further 20 rows up, and so on and so forth. If there were 150 rows and you still wanted 5 buttonholes, you would then just divide 150 by 5, and that would give you 30. So therefore you would then just make a buttonhole every 30 rows, and so on and so forth. So I've pulled 20 needles out in a 1x1 rib arrangement, and I've done the 3 circular rows, and I've already hung the weight and the cast on comb. And what I'm going to do is just knit 2 rows, and I've got the tension set at number 4, and it's a UK 4-ply yarn. And we're going to make the first buttonhole. So what I'm going to do is just take the double-eye transfer tool and move this stitch from the knitter over to the left hand side there, and then on the ribber, the stitch that's directly underneath, so this one here, we're going to move it directly across to the left hand side there, like that. And I will point out here that it is vitally important that these 2 needles, the empty needles, remain in work. So that one on the ribber and again on the knitter. If they are not in the working position, then the whole ribber stitches will drop and you will get ladders in your band. So now what you need to do is knit the required amount of rows between your buttonhole that you've just formed and the next buttonhole that you're going to do. In this case, I'm going to knit 20 rows. And we're going to do the same thing again. So we're going to take that stitch and move it across to the left, and the same with the ribber stitch that's underneath. I always find that using the double-eye transfer tool is the easiest, because if you use the normal transfer tool, they have a tendency to stick. So move that one across there, and again making vitally sure that the empty needles remain in work. So another 20 rows. And the same thing again. Take that stitch and move it across to the left, and the one that's underneath, take it across and move it across to the ribber needle there, and make sure that the empty needles are in work. And another 20 rows. And you just carry on going in that fashion until you've got the required amount of buttonholes you need in your band. So this is the pretend buttonhole band that I've just done. Now obviously this is a small sample, and you wouldn't do 20 rows of course in between each buttonhole as I described. It would depend on the amount of rows between the bottom of the garment and the top of where the shaping starts for your particular garment. I'm just going to take a button and just move it through so you can see exactly that these buttonholes work perfectly. So that's one, and we'll do the other one, and of course they're all the same, so that one works perfectly fine there. What I'm going to do now is just attach this to a piece of knitting so you can see what it looks like. Now I'm using the knitting machine to attach this band, but of course in my opinion the very best way would be to use a linker. However, as I've said quite a few times now, and I still haven't got it replaced, my linking machine has gone to the Great Knitting Circle up in the sky. And in my opinion, the next best way to attach any form of band is to use the knitting machine, and to, once you've actually put the bands on, do the last 2 rows, the joining rows, at the loosest tension, and then cast off with a latch tool. And here we are. Here is the ribbed buttonhole band that I've just attached on to this little sample of knitting here. After you've done that, you would of course apply some gentle steam, as I have demonstrated in another video. I have not done that to this sample, which is why it is not laying as flat as what it could have done. I've just pinned it to the board underneath this black cover here. And so once it lays flatter, it will look actually a lot better than what it does here. But anyway, that's the general idea. It's a very simple technique to do, and that is how you make a ribbed buttonhole band.